Hey there, I'm currently in Texas at the airport waiting to the socially acceptable time to eat Panda Express because I really want some and it's not quite time yet. So it's like 9:45 local time, so I'm gonna wait until at least 10 o'clock and then I can go eat Panda Express. But anyway, I wanted to hop on here. I've been thinking about it for a while. I'd love to have a little conversation with y'all about why it's important to read to kids. I'm not a mom, but I'm a teacher. I've taught for 7 years and I've learned a few things over the years. And one of the things that really this past year I realized was important is reading to kids, which of course you always hear that you should read to kids. I've heard it so many times over the years as a teacher, reading is so good for children, blah, blah, blah. And I never really got it until this past year. It started kind of sinking in and like the dots started connecting, like why it's important to read to kids. So there's multiple reasons, and I'm really just touching on a few things here, why it's important to read to kids.
May I have your attention, please?
So for starters, reading to little kids is really great for their pre-reading skills. It gives them a broad range of, it helps them understand their vocabulary, to learn more words and what things mean. Reading to kids really gives them a good idea of the world. They maybe never went to Africa, but they got to read a book about it, or they maybe never saw the inside of an airport, but they read a book about it, or things like that. Like they can learn so much from books. And also rhyming books, you might get so sick of reading Cat in the Hat. And I think from teaching 7 years of kindergarten, I nearly have Sam I Am, Green Eggs and Ham memorized. And Horton Hears a Who, oh my goodness, that book is too long. Anyway, but rhyming is awesome for kids because it actually helps them to think about the sounds in the words. And I'm sorry about the loud noises in the background, but yes, it helps kids actually think about the sounds in the words, which is super important for school because they've got to think about those sounds. If a kid's not aware of sounds, you're gonna have major problems in school. So it helps kids become aware of sounds. Okay, so that's for little kids. But what about bigger kids? My mom, actually both of my parents were teachers and they love reading, and like my grandparents love reading, and actually all of us love reading. And one of the reasons why I think we love reading so much is that we were read to as children. My mom did awesome at reading to us. I was the youngest child, so I probably had youngest child privileges. There was no younger kids underneath me for my mom to be caring for, so she took time to read to my brother and I, and she read a lot. I just was realizing recently like how much she actually read to us. And I also was realizing, so she read so much to us, and I was realizing how much that shaped my view of the world and gave me information about the world. There's a thing called schema, is your idea of the world and words and all of that, and like it just gives you a great schema for that. So some kids love facts, and so you can read them books about dinosaurs or whatever, just facts and history and things like that. They just love stuff like that. Other kids love just more like stories and fun things or fantasy. All of those are actually really important. You need a mix of everything. In my classroom, I try to have a mix of fictional books, a mix of books that are like informational, a mix of books that are just fun, a mix of books about real people, and then like animals who are talking and things like that. One reason why it's good to read to children is that so they need to be able to, it's really good for them to be able to see things from another person's point of view. So like the book Charlotte's Web, how was Wilbur feeling? What was Charlotte thinking? Templeton the rat, why was he doing what he did? Stuff like that. They get to see another point of view other than their own and realize that, oh, hey, actually, other people might feel differently than I do. But yeah, and one huge reason why it is good to read to your kids is kids spell love T-I-M-E. And reading to your kids is just sitting down with them and being with them. They get to sit right beside you, and you're getting their undivided attention, even though you're reading the book. And it's a good time for them to ask questions and things like that. But it just like, it's just good quality time that you won't regret. Even if it drives you crazy that you have to read the same book 10 times in a row, that's actually not a bad thing because it's helping their memory. Surprise, it actually is. And reading to kids actually, so it's improving their vocabulary, it's actually improving their imagination. Instead of just being entertained by a screen, they are having to picture what is actually happening, and they're having to listen with their ears and like think with their minds, what is going on? I need to pay attention. If I miss a word, it really is going to change how something about the story. So they actually really have to pay attention. That's great for improving their attention. So some of the books my mom read to us, she read to us like up until we were pretty old, and she would read chapter books to us. And the nice thing about being a mom and reading, or being an aunt or a grandma or whatever, and reading books to your kids is that you can pick books that maybe are a little bit too mature for them, and you can just sort of edit things out. My mom was awesome at doing that. We still make fun of it all today because, yeah, we'd be sitting there and she'd be reading, and all of a sudden she'd stop and we'd be like, read, and giving her elbows. And later, when I was older, I would want to go back and read those books again because I had these special memories of those books. So I'd go back and read those books again, and like, I did not remember that part of that book, or I did not remember that entire chapter from Cheaper by the Dozen, or all this stuff. So there are so many good books out there you can read. Some of the ones my mom read to us were Cheaper by the Dozen. There's some good books by E.B. White, Charlotte's Web. Then there's The Wheel on the Schoolhouse. I'm not sure if that's by her or not, but The Wheel on the Schoolhouse, it's about, I think, a stork that built a nest on top of a schoolhouse. There was a wheel on the top. And another one was The Trumpet of the Swan. That's a really good one. It's about a swan that lost his partner, and he had to go find her, and he stayed in a hotel one night and ate watercress salad in the tub. It was just fun. And let me think. My Love Affair with the State of Maine was another one. That was about two ladies that went to Maine and started a little store. That one's for more older kids. Anything by Beverly Cleary. What is that one? Ribsy and Henry Huggins and Ramona Cleary. All of those people, Ramona Quimby. All of those books are really great. Of course, there is always the Little House on the Prairie. Those guys, those are awesome. One of my students, when he was in kindergarten, the one day he was raising his hand and is in the middle of class, and he just started talking and talking and talking. It was all this information, all these little details about a book his parents had been reading him, and I thought it was cute. He just like poured out all these details, and he was usually a pretty quiet child, and I mentioned it to his parents because I thought it was cute, and she was like, oh my goodness. The mom said, like, she didn't even know if he was listening half the time, because half the time he was standing upside down on his head and hanging off the couch, stuff like that. So you never know. You have no idea how much your kids are listening. So anyway, that being said, read to your kids. Doesn't have to be stories with huge, great moral lessons. It doesn't have to be always Bible stories, although that is wonderful. Read to your kids because it's actually filling up their little love tanks. It's giving them good information. It's helping their minds. It's doing all kinds of stuff. So anyway, there's a little encouragement for the day. Hopefully it's encouraging anyway. Reading is free. Unfortunately, the libraries are closed right now, but hopefully they'll be open soon. So I think I'm gonna go get myself some Panda Express, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.